In the name of the one who loves the beloved and love itself. Amen. Please be seated. So there was a bar who had a barman that was convinced that he was the strongest guy in town. And they had a bet. They had a bet that you'd win $1,000 if after the barman squeezed out a lemon juice, you could squeeze out any more juice, because he believed that his grip was stronger than anybody's. People tried for ages. They kept on coming into the bar. They kept on challenging the barman. He would get a lemon and squeeze it so hard that there was no juice left, and then somebody else would do it, and they couldn't get a thing out. Went on for weeks and weeks and months. Then one day, a guy came into the bar, looked a little bit scrawny, was wearing thick glasses and a polyester suit. And he said, I'm going to challenge the barman to the bet. Barman looked at him and thought, well, this is going to be easy. So he got a lemon and he started squeezed every drop of lemon out of that lemon juice. Then handed it over to the guy, who held it in his fist and squeezed so incredibly tightly. And 6 drops of juice came out. It had never happened before. The barman was amazed, and he says, what do you do? I didn't think you had that in you. Are you a lumberjack? Are you a builder? What do you do? And the guy said, I work for the IRS. It's a really cheap shot. It's really easy to find tax collector jokes on the internet, by the way. There were lots of them. I picked that one. I hope you liked that one. Today's gospel is a story about a Pharisee and a tax collector. And I started with my funny joke about tax collectors. But I actually want to say that we've sanitized this story and cleaned it up too much. And even me making that joke about the tax collector kind of cleans it up a little bit. Makes him a figure of fun. Makes us think about the tax collector in the context of the ancient Near East and in Jerusalem in particular at this period of time, just like we think about the IRS today. Kind of annoying, but like we tolerate them and need them and, we'll make jokes about them. I actually want to say there's a lot more going under the surface of this story, a lot more going on under the surface of this story than you might realize. There's the Pharisee, the righteous one. And it says in the text that Jesus is talking to people who trusted in themselves for their own righteousness. So there was a congregation of people in front of him that were just like that. And maybe he exaggerates the way that the Pharisee behaves, but I bet that some of the words or phrases pricked the consciences of those that were listening. They knew that they liked to stand up and say prayers out loud and look good in front of the crowd. And perhaps they knew that they looked down their noses at others. So he was pricking their consciences and getting them to think about who they were and doing what I believe that Jesus always does, which is invite people to an adult reflection on their own identity and conscience. The thing that I want to say that really amazes me, though, is who Jesus chose as the other character. He chose a tax collector. And this tax collector came into the temple and knelt down and said, I am unworthy and I need your help. Now, our picture of the tax collector might be shaped by those jokes of the IRS that I just told. A figure of fun. But actually there's a power dynamic in this text that goes unseen to the modern eye. Israel was an occupied country. Rome collected taxes. It wasn't just the government that you had elected that was collecting taxes from you. It was a foreign power. The tax collector was often backed up by a Roman legion. If you didn't give your taxes, you could be targeted by them. They could use violence to make you give your taxes in. But who were the tax collectors? To make it easier to communicate with the locals, the Romans picked locals as tax collectors. They picked the Jewish people. So these were your brothers, your relatives, your friends, perhaps former friends, who had decided to collaborate with a foreign power that had invaded and subjugated your people. And the way that the Romans told the tax collectors or got them on board was to say, well, you can collect the taxes that we want, but you can actually collect more. So we don't really care how you get it. We just want the money to come to Rome that we expect to come to Rome. And whatever you collect on the top is yours. So this character of the tax collector was a manifestation of a collaborator with a foreign power who was a representative of a deeply corrupt part of the Jewish nation. And they were considered to be despised, the worst of the worst. Terrible. That's who Jesus picked as his foil to the Pharisee. And that moves me in a variety of ways. Because by the end of the parable, he will say that one of those people left the temple justified. One of those people, the tax collector, was forgiven. That terrible collaborator, that person who has represented a colonial invasion, that person who has betrayed his friends and relatives, that person, if they genuinely and with an open heart come before God and ask for forgiveness and grace, will receive it. God's forgiveness is sufficient for even that person. Thank God. Because I can be pretty bad. And you probably can be too. We're doing a lot of work at the moment on the idea of racial healing. And some of us are looking into some texts from the history of our country and asking ourselves whether we've represented a colonial power that's come and subjugated others. It's a powerful set of ideas that can get under our skin, make us feel bad, make us feel bad about ourselves. Maybe we even want to fight against it and say, no, it's not true. That's not me. When Jesus uses the tax collector in this parable, he's playing with fire. He is going to that character, that person who had betrayed the people around him and used power and force to subjugate them. And he is asking, is it possible for God to forgive even that one? And I'm glad he answers yes. Because I need that forgiveness too. I need the gospel to be that powerful that I can be healed. And then returning to the opening line, I need to remember that I can't do this on my own. He told the story to some who felt that they could trust in themselves for their own righteousness. I can't. I need more than me. I might look great. I might stand up before a congregation and be able to appear as though I am the righteous one in a certain situation, but I can't do it on my own. I need to be forgiven. I need to be loved by a loving God. I need to be given the courage by God to open my heart, look inside, and see the dark corners and bring them to light, and have God help me transform them. And this story tells me it's possible if I'll just be honest enough with myself. Amen.